What's up, YouTube? This is the Big Fish Network, home for Miami Dolphins fans worldwide, and I'm your host, Dave Wade, back again on the set with another show. On today's show, I'm going to give you my top 5 head coaches that I think the Miami Dolphins should target for the 2022 season. And I'm also giving you my opinion on who the front office has already been targeting and scheduling for interviews. Got some interviews coming up as well with some coaches. But before I do, I just want to give a special shout out to all of the viewers and subscribers who saw the first episode, the inauguration. Thank y'all for tapping in and showing y'all support. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate it. Big ups to all those who left a comment as well. Be sure to leave a comment whenever y'all watch this, man. I'm real interested in knowing what y'all think, you know what I'm saying, what y'all opinion is. Tell me what y'all want to see, like I said. And if you're new to the channel, I just want to say welcome to the family, welcome to the network. You are now affiliated. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you can hear it first. Also, check out the first episode, TBFN, the inauguration, where I go in. I went on a rant. You know what I'm saying? I said I wouldn't, but I went on a rant because I'm mad. I'm still mad that we let go Brian Flores. A lot of fans are still mad that we let go Brian Flores, but we got to move on. You know what I'm saying? We got to move on. He's also a candidate in the coaching search for several teams out there. Looks like he's seriously he was in play for the Giants job, but it looks like Brian Daboll has gotten that job based on reports. So looks like he's gonna have to get another job. I know that was probably exactly where he wanted to go with Patrick Graham over there. He had Patrick Graham with us in 2019, and then Patrick Graham left to be the DC with the Giants. It'll be interesting to see how that all pans out for him. I wish him nothing but the best. You know what I mean? But I would say, hopefully he take Patrick Graham with him to make his defensive coordinator, because if that scenario plays out, then that means we get to keep Josh Boyer as our DC, depending on who we get as head coach. So, y'all let me know in the comments if y'all think we should keep Josh Boyer at DC. You know what I'm saying? He can keep that amoeba defense that we have with all our pass rushes, with our safety pressures. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that. But if he stays, it'll almost be like we didn't lose anything schematically. So, I like that option. That'll be a plus depending on who we hire. Wherever he lands, wherever Brian Flores lands, like I said, I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he lands in the NFC and not the AFC. You know what I'm saying? And to all the fans out there, our worst nightmare is him not getting the head coaching job. We need to hope that Brian Flores gets a head coaching job. Because our worst nightmare is if he don't get a head coaching job and he go back and be the defensive coordinator at New England, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly with Mac Jones and they run the West Coast offense over there. They run the split back offense out of shotgun. You see Mac Jones in the playoffs doing what he did. They lost, but they're developing Mac Jones. They're getting the quick game, getting him familiar with, getting the ball out in 3 seconds or less. We need to be, and they building a good running game over there with New England. So we need to continue building. Despite what happened between Chris Grier and Flores, I still think Chris Grier is a good GM. He got a good eye for talent, a good eye for scouting. So we'll see what happens. But I think that Chris Grier has to grow and expand his mind, because he comes from the Bill Parcells blueprint, or the Bill Parcells way of building a team and building a championship team. I think Chris Grier, if you just expand your mind, instead of following Bill Parcells' blueprint, follow Don Shula's blueprint. You know what I'm saying? Follow George Seifert's blueprint. Follow Bill Walsh's blueprint. Follow Andy Reid's blueprint. The same thing he did with the Eagles, he's doing with Kansas City, and it's working to success. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta open up your mind, because the manual is right there in the building. The manual is right there in the building. You know what I mean? And I believe that if Steve Ross and Chris Grier could just be patient, stick to a 3 to 5-year plan and use Shula as a reference point to find the next coach, I think we'll be on our way. And we have some good pieces on offense and defense, especially on defense. I think that we could add another middle linebacker and a DT. But other than that, this defense could take us to the ship as is, even if we ain't add no players. But I definitely think a middle linebacker and a defensive tackle would be perfect for us to add for this defense to just complete the puzzle and complete, an elite championship style defense. Offensively, I think that's what we're lacking. In my opinion, we need to add 3 more running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a center on the O-line. We need another center. Even if it's just a backup center, we can keep Dieter at center. That's okay. I think he can get better. He just got to get more strength in his lower body. But other than that, I think if we don't keep him as the starting center, we need to add a backup center or add a center to replace him that's better, who can communicate with that O-line. Because I think, as bad as y'all talk about the O-line, I think the players themselves are good. I still believe in Austin Jackson. I still believe in Liam Eichenberg and the young guards. They're young. I know they had some struggles, but I think that's more the scheme and the play calling. I think that Stootsville, not having the right movement on the line. These guards need to be pulling. I want to see our guards pulling. I want to see our centers pulling. I want to see some movement on the offensive line. I'm not seeing that. So, that's what I think that's more of. I don't think it's Liam Eichenberg. They listen to the fans and they listen to y'all saying that they was real shitty. These players are young. We just drafted Liam Eichenberg. Put him back at right tackle. Let's put Austin Jackson back at left tackle because he did not do that bad in 2020. I thought he actually did pretty good, for a rookie. And he's still young. Dieter at center. We got Solomon Kinley, which I don't know why we wasn't giving him no playing time. At guard, have him moving in on the line. He need to have more movement, doing more combo blocks. Same thing with Robert Hunt. So I still believe in them. We could add some depth, but I still believe in this line. They're young. And I'll talk about it in the upcoming videos. I think that there's some real good position players in this draft. A lot of good position players in this draft. Chris Greer, if you're listening, man, try to get as many picks as you can in this draft. Try to get as many picks as you can because there's a lot of good players in this draft. Also, like I said, use Shula as a reference when finding the next coach. Here's a list of 5 things that I would look for in the next head coach. Number 1, must come from a winning coaching tree on either side of the ball, offense or defense. Number 2, prior history of improved units and winning season as a coordinator or a coach. Number 3, must bring the West Coast offense or a variation of it. Like I said, I'm going to keep preaching this. Y'all going to keep hearing me say this. Tua needs to be in the West Coast offense, running that scheme in a timing offense. We need to get receivers who can fit that scheme for Tua. I think Jalen Waddle is one of them, but I think we need 2 other receivers to complement Jalen Waddle, which I'm going to talk about. Number 4, must either keep Josh Boyer or bring the 3-4 disguise defense or the 3-4 defense, because we already have players that fit the 3-4 scheme. That's what Brian Flores is running. That's what we're running right now. We're already pretty much calibrated for that scheme. Number 5, must improve low picks, must show a history of improving low picks and undrafted players and special teams. That's right. That's another thing we're gonna miss. It's not about anybody can get free agents, you know what I'm saying? That's what the Rams is doing right now. They got Odell Beckham, they added Sony Michel. They gotta pay these players at some point. So if they don't win a championship this year, then it's gonna be dead money. We got a team that went 10-6 last year and a team that went 9-8 this year, and they all young. They all jits. That's what I'm talking about. So what coach can we get that's going to be able to improve our players? And you know how we got it like this? From Chris Greer and Brian Flores squeezing the juice out of the undrafted players, out of the young players, the low picks, the 5th round picks, the 4th round picks, the 7th round pick. We got Myles Gaskin playing starting minutes. And I'm not saying he's a starting running back, because I don't think he should be our starting running back moving forward. We need to get another starting running back, and he can possibly either be a swing running back that we can use in a passing game, kind of like the Colts used Nyheim Hines, but he's not as fast or explosive as Nyheim Hines. So I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comment section. Do y'all think we should keep Myles Gaskin on the team? I don't think so. I think we need to get 3 new running backs. But Chris Greer and Brian Flores was able to get players like Gaskin to get starting minutes and make impacts on the team. Nick Needham, you know what I'm saying? Zach Seiler, who we got off waivers, waiver wire players. These are starters now, and they're young still, they're productive, and they're anchors on our team. So we need to get a coach who can continue that trend, who can continue to do that, to develop players, because then that way you don't have to pay them so much money. And the way they did it was they said, okay, if we add Kyle Van Noy, can he beat out Andrew Van Ginkel? If so, we'll extend his contract and sign him to a bigger deal, maybe a 3-year deal. He's 28, so we'll sign him maybe till he turns 30, keep him on the team until we can get somebody to replace him. But if he can't beat out Andrew Van Ginkel, who's younger, what's the point? So a lot of fans, and you got a lot of columnists who write for the Miami Herald and Sun Sentinel saying, oh, we got rid of Kyle Van Noy, we got rid of these players, and that's why, they didn't know what they were doing. No, they knew exactly what they were doing. Squeeze the juice out of the young players, see if they can beat the young vets, who are 28, 26. If they can, you get rid of them, keep the rookies and undrafted players who are better and cheaper, and you keep doing it that way. That way you build a young team that's sustainable over years to come. That's what they said when they hired Brian Flores in a press conference. Steve Ross, that's what you said. You didn't want to get high-priced free agents. You was okay with getting waiver wire players, hungry players who wanted to win, and that's what we did. What happened? All of a sudden, what happened? But I digress. We got to get a coach who can meet those 5 things on that list. I think that's how you find the next coach. When you think about coaching trees, the coach has to come from a good coaching tree from either side of the ball. Shula, for example, he was a branch from Cleveland Browns coach Paul Brown's coaching tree, who had a lot of branches. Sid Gilman, Sid Gilman, Ed Coryell, those are 2 pioneers of the vertical and horizontal passing game that you see right now in offenses today. So this shit is proven, Don Shula came from that coaching tree. He saw the Cleveland Browns almost go undefeated, Then he became a coordinator himself, led the Detroit Lions, to a Super Bowl, helped lead them to a Super Bowl under George Wilson as a defensive, for the defense, as a defensive assistant. And the defense improved as soon as he got there. So, do they have a history of do their units have a history of improving and having success, getting the team to the playoffs, getting the team to the Super Bowl? Was there an improvement from the previous coach to when they got there? That's what I'm looking at. And that's what you saw. When he got to the Colts, he became the winningest coach for them. So before he even became the Dolphins coach, before Joe Robbie even hired him as a coach, he already knew, he saw that everywhere Shula went, his team improved and went to the Super Bowl. Went to the playoffs consistently. And so Joe Robbie gave him full control. I know some people are saying, oh, the next coach that comes in, he got to be, an elite coach before I give him full control. Yeah, that's true. And Don Shula was an elite coach, but really you should give every coach control of the draft as well as the GM. Yeah, him and the GM got to work in tandem, but the coach know what he wants. He know the players that's going to fit his system, who's going to, allow the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinators to do their jobs and run the schemes that they want to run so that they can score points and be productive. He doesn't need a GM interfering with him when he's telling him the players that he know that he needs. So the GM got to listen to the coach, and really the coach should have more say in the players. That's what Shula had. And he had a percentage of the team. He had a little small stake of ownership in the team. I ain't saying they should go that far, but he had control is what I'm getting at. So, your coach has to come from a good coaching tree. John Madden, he studied Sid Gilman. That's why the Raiders was running the vertical stretch. Those are offensive schemes that are being ran today. Then you had, like I said, Air Coryell, who created a number system for routes and plays. These systems are tried and true, and they are proven. Most of the successful coaches you see right now are branches from Bill Walsh's Midwest West Coast tree. So, you look at the teams in the playoffs right now. Kansas City, head coach Andy Reid, he's a branch off of Bill Walsh's West Coast offense. Kyle Shanahan at San Francisco is a branch off of his dad, Mike Shanahan's tree, who was a branch off of Bill Walsh's West Coast offense. Green Bay Packers head coach Matt LaFleur, he's a branch off of Kyle Shanahan's tree, West Coast. Las Vegas Raiders, John Gruden is a branch off of the West Coast offense. He coached in San Francisco. New England Patriots has Mac Jones running the West Coast offense. If y'all notice in the playoffs, there were some times when Mac Jones had two running backs right next to him in a split back formation with three wide receivers going down the field. That's all done. If you watch any old Marino tape, any old 80s Marino tape, y'all want the next Marino, that's when Marino was running. Split back shotgun. Far and near. It's the West Coast. That's what he was running. We don't have Tua running that. So if you want the next Marino, if you get Herbert, you got to have somebody that's going to be running that type of offense that scores a lot of points like that. That gets you a lot of yards after catch. Yak. I want a yak team. So that's what I'm looking for. The LA Rams, head coach Sean McVay, he's from the West Coast tree. The system is proven. I got an episode that I'm going to be dropping soon that'll explain why I believe the traditional Bill Walsh West Coast offense would be perfect for Tua. Y'all stay tapped in so y'all can see that. But he got to be able to bring the most out of Tua and his ability. I really believe in Tua. I believe in his team. And I believe that, without a doubt, that Tua could be our quarterback of the future. And we can be a dangerous and explosive offense that scores a lot of points per game, and I think Tua could be a new version of Russell Wilson. He could be a new version of Russell Wilson. But for that to happen, we need to stop with all the Deshaun Watson talk and focus on hiring a coach that's going to be able to mix the West Coast with the pistol RPO and some other offensive approaches that I'm going to talk about again in future videos. And Tua needs the same thing that he had at Alabama. Y'all complaining and y'all saying that, it's reports now that it's an anonymous player saying that he wasting his career on the team if Tua is going to be our starting quarterback. Tua has looked good with what we have right now. Imagine if he had what he had at Alabama. He don't even have what he had at Alabama. At Alabama, this man had Najee Harris as his power back. He had Josh Jacobs. He had Damian Harris. You see what Damian Harris is doing with the Patriots with Ramondre Stevenson over there. And Brandon Bolden. Belichick knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He studied Shula. He's building a three-headed monster over there. That's what we need. That's what we need to build on the Dolphins. We need to build a three-headed monster in the West Coast scheme. And you see already in the playoffs, that's what's been working. Jimmy Johnson, when he was the coach of the Dolphins, he comes from his line of thinking is the Air Coryell offense. When he was with Dallas, he had Ernie Zampese, who's a student of Don Coryell. That's what they was running with the Dallas Cowboys, winning championships in 92 and 93. Running that Ed Coryell offense. Jason Garrett, he comes from that school of thought. Kellen Moore, who's one of the candidates out there. If he came to the Dolphins, he'd probably be running a version of Ed Coryell's offense. That's not what I think we need Tua in. I think Tua needs to be more in the horizontal yards after catch scheme that can allow him to take shots downfield once the defense gets confused and gets, once they get confused with those patterns coming across the field horizontally, those crossers and things like that, having Waddle coming across the middle of the field deep in different patterns. We're gonna talk about that, man. But like I said in the inauguration video, most of the coaches have 80% experience on one side of the ball and 20% experience on the other side of the ball. So the pattern that I've seen is every coach would join the team, improve one side of the ball, start winning some games, get the team to the playoffs, maybe have like a 9-7 record, 8-8 record. And the owners, they'll listen to the media and they'll start getting impatient with the coach and they'll fire the coach and they'll fire the GM, and then it's a revolving door. It's like high turnover. Y'all see it at companies in the workforce. High turnover is not a good thing. We gotta have a steady coach if we want to have success and have continuous success instead of going 10-6 one year, then 6-10. We don't want that. So in order to do that, they got to be able to trust the coach, and they got to trust the scouting department, trust McKenzie, trust all of them in there, and that's pretty much what got to happen. Now, coaches that have already landed jobs. Nathaniel Hackett, he's taking over the Denver Broncos. There's been reports that Byron Leftwich is going to take over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Matt Eberflus takes over the Chicago Bears. And Dan Quinn is going to remain in Dallas as their defensive coordinator. So Dan Quinn was one of the options. He was one of the people that were being interviewed or supposed to be interviewed. A lot of people was looking at him because of what he did with the Atlanta Falcons. And Dan Quinn got a lot of experience. He actually coached on the Dolphins, I think in 2000 to 2003. So, he got some history with us as well, but he decided to stay in Dallas. But he's not in my top 5. I wouldn't have had him as a coach. I wouldn't have brought him in as a coach. And then also what was surprising was Sean Payton of the New Orleans Saints decided to step down. They reported this, and it was breaking news. They said that, he said in this conference when he explained it that he's not done with coaching. He just wanted to take a break, and, maybe in a year or two, he'll decide to come back to coaching. So, from what it looks like, we've interviewed Vance Joseph. We've interviewed Brian Daboll, but Brian Daboll decided to go with the Giants. And I know that's breaking a lot of fans' heart because he was number one. He was the number one option for a lot of fans, for the front office as the coach, because he had a history with Tua, working with him at Alabama as the offensive coordinator there. He has a history of running the plays that Tua likes to run, and he could bring a lot of the success that he had with Josh Allen to the Dolphins and do the same thing with Tua. It's been proven with Buffalo that he can be successful and get a team to the championship caliber level with his offense. And he's also been an offensive coordinator for the Dolphins when we had Reggie Bush under Tony Sparano. And those final games with Matt Moore and Reggie Bush, remember when everybody was saying how maybe we need to keep Matt Moore as a quarterback, but we ended up drafting Ryan Tannehill? That was Brian Daboll. We got out to a slow start, but Matt Moore ended up looking pretty good in his offense, and Reggie Bush damn sure looked good in that offense. All right, so here are my top 5 coaches that I think the Miami Dolphins should target for the 2022 season. Number 1, Mike Shula. Number 2, Rex Ryan. Number 3, Greg Roman. Number 4, Doug Peterson. And number 5, Josh McCown. Now let's talk about Mike Shula. So Mike Shula, son of the legend Don Shula, as you know, the man studied the game since he was a jit. You know, he was exposed to it. He has the manual, he has the championship pedigree, has the championship DNA. I don't know why we ain't never hired Mike Shula as the coach. It's been all these years. He done coached for us as an assistant, but why the hell we ain't make him a head coach? You know, this is long overdue. It'll be good for the fans, good for the city, you know, and I feel like he's, you know, not just because he's the son, he's shown in the league that he's an elite offensive coordinator. You know what I'm saying? You look at, you know, what he's done with the Giants, with the Carolina Panthers. He was a head coach at Alabama, his alma mater. So, you know, he was a Crimson Tide head coach, you know, and then, I mean, when you look at Carolina, 2015, the Panthers went 15-1, you know, in the regular season, advanced to Super Bowl 50. You know, him and then quarterback coach Ken Dorsey brought out the best of Cam Newton that year, and he directed an offense that helped Carolina set franchise records with an NFL leading 500 points, 59 touchdowns, as well as 357 first downs. And Cam Newton was named the NFL's MVP and first team All-Pro after throwing 35 touchdowns, running for 10 more touchdowns, and producing a 99.4 quarterback rating. He was the first player in NFL history with at least 30 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns in a season. That Panthers team finished second in the NFL with 142.6 rushing yards per game, so he knows what to do with the running game, and that was the highest ranking in team history for the Carolina Panthers. So, you know, his record speaks for itself. You know, he's a 31-year coaching vet. I think he's still currently on the contract with the Giants. But you look at his work, you know, 6 of Shula's players from that Carolina team were selected to the Pro Bowl. Cam Newton, center Ryan Khalil, running back Jonathan Stewart, tight end Greg Olsen. Then they had fullback Mike Tolbert, guard Trey Turner. And they was doing a lot of moving and pulling and pushing and knocking people around, getting pancakes, doing, you know, zone blocking in a running scheme, you know, at Carolina. So, you know, in his last final season with the team, 2017, the Panthers was 4th in the league in rushing yards per game with 131.4, 7th and 3rd down efficiency, 93 conversions in 222 opportunities, a 41.9% success rate. That is killing it. 12th in scoring, 22.7 points a game. That previous year, you know, Shula's offense battled through injuries along the offensive line and finished 10th in the NFL in rushing. Those 2 seasons continue the tradition of strong ground games under Shula. That turned ground and pound. That was all under Mike Shula. The Panthers produced 30 consecutive regular season games with at least 100 rushing yards from week 6 of the 2014 season to week 3 in 2016, which is the longest streak in NFL history since the Pittsburgh Steelers did it with 43 in a row from 1974 to 1977. So under Shula, if we had Shula as our head coach, the ground game is damn sure going to be efficient. And where does he get that from? Why was he able to do that in Carolina? Because he get that from his dad. He gets that from the legend. He has the manual. So it's no wonder why Jonathan Stewart was able to produce 100-yard games, 1,000-yard seasons. I think if I'm not correct, y'all let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong. I think D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart had 1,000-yard seasons, and Cam Newton had like 800 yards that same season. It was a three-headed monster. It was a three-headed monster, which we're gonna talk about. So I'm not worried about that. And as you see, not just the running game, Cam Newton was efficient passing, probably had his best years under Mike Shula. So I definitely want him as the number 1 option as head coach. Chris Greer, Stephen Ross, go out there, see if you can contact Mike Shula. He needs to be the next coach of the Miami Dolphins. Who else we got? Number 2, Rex Ryan. I think Rex Ryan is a good option as a head coach, even though he is 61-66 in the regular season. So I know it's kind of hypocritical going against what I'm saying about having a winning tradition, you know, but he really does have a winning tradition. Why? He was the defensive assistant with the Ravens when they went to the Super Bowl. So he's seen Ray Lewis. He's seen Ed Reed. He knows what a good middle linebacker looks like. He'll be able to elevate Jerome Baker's game. Ed Reed, he'll be able to, Ed Reed was his center field and ball hawk in this defense. So he'll be able to do with Javon Holland. I'm not sure if we're going to keep Eric Rowe because he was more of a Flores player. So Rex Ryan, if he was to be our head coach, I'm not sure if he'll keep Eric Rowe. So we might need a safety in the draft or a free agency, depending on who our head coach is. But postseason record is 4-2. So he got a winning record as a postseason coach, even though he's 61-66 in the regular season. So his career overall record as a head coach is 65-68. So, a little under 500. Now, I believe, even though that is the case, and that kind of goes against one of the things on my list, still I believe in Rex. He a brash coach, he gonna bring that swagger to Miami. He knows exactly what to do with this defense. This defense is ready made for Rex Ryan. We already had the pieces to the puzzle, already the components that he needs to have the defense to a championship level, which is already at a championship level. You think about when he was with the Jets and he had Darrelle Revis, we got Xavier Howard, then he had Antonio Cromartie on the other side, we got Byron Jones, you know what I'm saying? And then at safety, I think he had Ed Reed on the Jets as well. But we got everything that he needs for this defense. But after the Ravens, he took over the Jets in 2009 after Eric Mangini was released. 2010, he led the Jets to an 11-5 season, and they qualified as a wild card team in the playoffs where they beat the Colts, but lost to the Steelers in the divisional round. He's won games against New England where his defense didn't allow a touchdown, only field goals. So, he's got shutouts on his record as a defensive coordinator, as a head coach. So that's the one thing that we know that we can count on. Another thing I like about Rex Ryan is offensively, he likes to attack teams implementing a proficient running game. Also, he believes in passing the ball. He thinks that's important, but he don't think that passing the ball should be, overly used. So we get Rex Ryan as our head coach. We're not going to be running the same offense that Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow is running. And I like that. I want us to have the running game as the staple of our offense with deep passing and yak yardage in the intermediate and short passing game that's going to score touchdowns. And he has that championship DNA as far as building a defense and having a defense that can go to the Super Bowl. You look at his history with his defenses, you think there's 6 different defenses that you can run, defensive formations that you can run in football. The most widely used is the 3-4 and the 4-3. Rex uses all 6. And he uses disguise coverage. He uses various different blitzes, zone blitzes. And he gets that from Buddy Ryan, from his dad, who coached on the 85 Bears team, who coached with the Philadelphia Eagles, where they blitzed every single down. That's where he gets that from. The Oilers, Buddy Ryan coached with the Oilers. All they did was blitz. So that's all Rex Ryan knows is blitz, blitz, blitz. And that's what I like. So good. He'll fit great with this defense. Rex believes in the West Coast offense. He had Marty Mornhinweg and Greg Roman as his OCs. Marty with the Jets with Sanchez and Geno Smith, who were average quarterbacks and not better than Tua Tagovailoa. Let's get that clear. Geno Smith is not better than Tua Tagovailoa. Mark Sanchez is not better than Tua Tagovailoa, but yet and still, he was able to get them to have success in that system. It's a timing system that relies on the quarterback and the receiver being on the same page, because the receiver has to know when to change his route depending on the zones, depending on the spacing down the field. So that's something that Sanchez was able to be good at, but he wasn't master level at it like Steve Young was. I think Tua can be the next Steve Young. David Carr said it too. He saw the same thing, so I believe it can happen. But the only thing about Rex Ryan's defense that I don't like is that it can be gashed for big yardage in the running game. If you notice 2016, when we had Adam Gase, J&J, he ran all over Buffalo. He ran all over Buffalo, 200 yards a game. I think he had 2 games we had 200 yards. Y'all let me know in the comment section if I'm correct or not. But if you can run on Rex Ryan's defense, because sometimes he falls in love with the blitz and he doesn't focus on stopping the run at the right times in games. And I think that hurts him sometimes. But wherever he's been, the running game has been great. When he was with Buffalo and he had Shady McCoy, with Tyrod Taylor, with the Jets, with Bilal Powell, you know, and Damian Tomlinson and the running backs that he had, you can count on the running game being good. In the West Coast offense, the running game is going to be good anyway. As you can see, Deebo Samuels at San Francisco, you know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the Chiefs. They don't run it enough with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but he can be a focal point of that offense, just like when Andy Reid had Westbrook with the Eagles. So it's possible the West Coast offense, I know you think of crosses and passes, like I said, that gets yak yardage, but the running game can be very, very potent and very explosive and has a history of being that in the West Coast offense. So Rex Ryan is going to bring that along with his defensive schemes, and he's hungry. He's hungry. Rex Ryan is still hungry. That's another thing I like. He still wants to beat Belichick. He still wants to prove that he's a better coach than Belichick. Bill, you know that Rex Ryan got your number sometimes. We know that if we had Rex Ryan on our team, we'll be able to compete against the Patriots, and that's what Flores, that's the element that he brought, you know, to us to being our head coach. So I think Rex could do the same thing. And, you know, he could bring his brother in as the defensive coordinator with Bart Scott on the staff. I think Bart Scott is a real good defensive mind that has a lot of good information whenever he covers the Jets. So I trust his judgment. I trust his knowledge of the game. And we're going to generate a lot of turnovers. You know, we'll generate a lot of turnovers with Rex Ryan as our coach. And we could have either Marty Mornhinweg or Mike McDaniels, who's actually a candidate for the head coaching jobs. And they say he's one of the guys that we've been looking to interview. I think we've already interviewed. But I think he's better suited as an offensive coordinator. He'd be a perfect one in Rex Ryan's, if Rex Ryan was the head coach. Another thing I like about Rex is he believes in Tua. I can tell he believes in Tua. I remember when we made the switch from Fitzpatrick to Tua, he was all in. You know, on Get Up, when they, you know, Greeny and all of them was talking about it. If you notice, Rex Ryan, he seemed like he was all for the move, and he knows that division well. He knows Fitzpatrick, and he knew that Tua was the better player. So Rex will definitely be on my list. Chris Greer, Steve Ross, make sure y'all reach out to Rex. Next, we got Greg Roman. I mentioned Greg Roman just a while ago as I was talking about Rex Ryan because he was the OC for the Bills. He helped Tyrod Taylor lead Buffalo to the playoffs. And he just got a history of having success wherever he's been. Again, you look at the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, with Tyler Huntley. Look at what Tyler Huntley was able to do as a backup quarterback in Greg Roman's offense because it works. Because it's the West Coast offense. He learned it at Carolina as an assistant under George Seifert. Then he also studied Bill Walsh's playbook. I think he got the whole playbook of Bill Walsh. That's what I want. That's what I want to hear. That's music to my ears because that tells me that we're going to score a lot of points if he's our head coach. Now, he hasn't been a head coach in the league. He's been considered many, many times for a head coaching role, but nobody's ever given him a chance. Steve Ross, Chris Greer, let's give Greg Roman a chance. I think he'll make a great head coach. He's experienced. He got everything that you're looking for in a head coach. And the only thing I would say, just like any other assistant or coordinator, is you don't know who Greg Roman is going to bring as a defensive coordinator. I would love it if Wink Martindale, who's also a coaching candidate, if we can get Wink Martindale as a defensive coach and Greg Roman as an offensive coordinator, then we'll basically have what they had with the Ravens, and that's a winning formula. So Greg Roman, he's got experience, man. He's a real good coach. We need to have him on that short list. Next, Doug Peterson. I got him on my list. Obviously, he played for the Dolphins as a backup to Marino, so he got some history with the team there. Again, well-versed in the West Coast offense, being under Andy Reid. And so the reason why I put Doug Peterson on my list, I would put Eric Bieniemy on there, and I would put Mike Kafka on there, but they're under Peterson's tree, So Peterson is more well-versed in the West Coast offense than them because he worked directly with Andy Reid. They have been working with Andy Reid too, but he knows more than they do in that scheme. If we can't get Doug Peterson, and we can't get the other ones on my list, then I would look at Mike Kafka actually over Eric Bieniemy because he played quarterback for the Eagles under Andy Reid, so he actually played the position, and I think he can maximize to his game just like he's done with Mahomes over there with the Chiefs. And then, Doug Peterson obviously won a championship with the Eagles, being creative in the play calling with that Philly special that worked against the Patriots. I think he can be innovative in the offense with Tua and Waddle and Gesicki. And like I said, I think we need to add some receivers. And then I would say I threw this one out there, even though he doesn't check all the boxes on the list. Some would say he don't check none of the boxes, but I added him because he's going to be a dark horse candidate. I just want to have fun with the list. So I'm adding Josh McCown, backup journeyman quarterback Josh McCown, to the list. Why? Because yes, even though he hasn't been an offensive coordinator, he has no experience. And I'm going to put him over Mike McDaniel, who, even though Mike McDaniel has, he's been with Sean McVay, he's been with Matt LaFleur with San Francisco. He has experience. I know he's done a lot of great work with Daboll Samuel. You see what they're doing right now in the running game. Raheem Mostert, you see the productivity he's got out of him. He got some experience working in Cleveland. I like Mike McDaniels, but I still think he's inexperienced. He's too young, and he hasn't played the position. If I'm going to get an inexperienced head coach, let me get somebody who's played the position, or if I'm going to get an inexperienced coordinator or somebody like that and take a chance on somebody, I'd rather have somebody that's played. Josh McCown's played. He's been a backup, but he's played for damn near every team. He's like Ryan Fitzpatrick part 2. He's like that. That's like his comp, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I think Ryan Fitzpatrick could be a head coach if he wanted to. He's smart. Harvard grad, he could be a head coach. Josh McCown, he's seen it all. He's been in he's probably been in every offensive system you could think of. So that's one plus that he has over other candidates, is he knows all the systems on offense. So my question again would be the same question we have for all the other coordinators. Who would Josh McCown bring in as his defensive coordinator? But I have no doubt Josh McCown will be a better coach than Cliff Kingsbury. Look at Cliff Kingsbury with no experience, how he was able to take the Cardinals to the playoffs, with Kyler Murray. I think Josh McCown can do the same thing Cliff Kingsbury did and more because he's played more and has more experience winning games than Cliff Kingsbury. So that concludes my list. There was some honorable mentions on my list that I did not add. I would say Jim Caldwell, he would be an honorable mention. If we can't get the 5 that I got on that list, then Jim Caldwell, Pep Hamilton, I like Pep Hamilton, Eric Bieniemy, Mike McDaniels, and I would say Mike Kafka, if we can get Mike Kafka. I'm not interested in Leslie Frazier, not interested in Todd Bowles. Josh McDaniels is intriguing. And he's going to be able to run the right offense for Tua without a doubt. He's just fleeting. I don't want him to use us to get another job. So that's why I don't have him on the list, but he's definitely qualified. Even though he had a stint with the Broncos, with Tim Tebow, running the wild horses over there. with Demaryius Thomas. He didn't last long there. I still believe in him as a coordinator, and I think he could be a head coach. He just, again, some of these head coaches that, we might be considering might have the same issues supposedly that they had with Brian Flores, where they may not like his personality. Brian Daboll is an aggressive coach. He got a aggressive personality. He's an alpha. He's not a pessimistic, soft cottonelle coach like how some of these columnists and analysts want us to get. We need a hard-nosed coach. That's what I want. Wanstead was a hard-nosed coach. I like that. Jimmy Johnson, a hard-nosed coach. Shula was a detail-oriented coach. He's a Capricorn, so he looks at everything. He's very anal, looks at every part of the game, and he demands everything from his players. He's going to bring a good culture. That's the type of coach that I'm looking for, and I just don't think that, I don't know if Josh McDaniels will do that. Vance Joseph, he's not on my list, even though he's someone that the Dolphins have been, considering for the role, and they've been interviewing Vance Joseph. They got a history with Vance. He was on that 2016 coaching staff with Adam Gase when we went to the playoffs. I would say that's probably the highlight of his coaching career when you include what he's doing with Arizona, having that defense, being able to create turnovers and get them to the playoffs. Only thing I like about Vance is that, again, his defenses, they generate a lot of turnovers, but they give up big plays. And if you look at that 2016 season under Gase, I don't blame that season on Gase, and I really think we should have went far in the playoffs and could have went far in the playoffs had Vance Joseph been better calling plays on that defense, and if that defense would have been better. Y'all go and look at the numbers, look at the stats, look at the score. You'll see that Gase was scoring. He had us scoring over 25 points in multiple games. 30 point. We had 30-point games. But we gave up a lot of points. The opponents had 30 points. They had 28 points. And so Gage didn't have a strong defense that he could rely on that was gonna. It's good to generate turnovers. That helps. And that scores points. As we can see, Flores was able to get this defense to generate a lot of turnovers. But what about getting off the field on third down? And so we were not good at getting off the field on third down under Vance Joseph. So he's not going to be an option for me. Thomas Brown, I don't think he has the experience. And then, when you look at Mike McDaniels, like I said, I don't think he has. He's the Wonder Boy candidate, but he don't have the experience. Kellen Moore, no. Leslie Frazier, I think Leslie Frazier would be a good coach, but I think Leslie would be a good coach, believe it or not. Everywhere he's been, the defense has been good. You look at Buffalo, yeah, Josh Allen gets a lot of credit. Yeah, Brian Daboll gets a lot of credit. Yeah, Ken Dorsey gets a lot of credit, but Leslie Frazier should also get an equal amount of credit. Look at what he's done with, Ed Oliver in the middle at defensive tackle for the Buffalo Bills. Look at what he's done with Tre'Davious White, playing cornerback. Look at how he's made that defense a defense that can take you to the playoffs. Plus, you look at what he did at Minnesota, when he led them to 10-6 record, 2012. They didn't really, and he did that with a team that didn't have everything that they needed. They had Adrian Peterson at running back. They had Percy Harvin, but Percy Harvin was hurt. He wasn't reliable. And then they had Christian Pond at quarterback. So Leslie Frazier never really had a quarterback. How would he do if he had Tua as his quarterback? If he had this defense to work with? If he had this amount of cap space that we have? And if he had this amount of ammunition, on the roster? So I think Leslie Frazier could be an option. Same thing with Todd Bowles. You could put him in that same category. He could be an option. I kind of put him and Leslie Frazier in the same category. They're about the same. And then, let me know in the comment section if there's any other candidates that y'all could think of that would make some good candidates. Maybe it's something that I'm not thinking of. Wink Martindale, like I said, I think he would be a good option, but I would want him to bring Greg Roman with him. That's the only thing. And then I want to have my cake and eat it too. You know, if I'm gonna have Mike Shula as the head coach, I want Ken Dorsey as the offensive coordinator or the quarterbacks coach. You know, if I'm gonna have Rex Ryan as the head coach, again, I want Marty Morningwig or Mike McDaniel, someone young in the West Coast offense, where he could just focus on the defense and have a reliable person that's gonna run this offense and get to it, throwing the ball down the field, get the offensive skill position players doing what they need to do so we can win a championship. But that's my top 5, y'all. I gave y'all my top 5. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Leave me y'all top 5 in the comments, or tell me what y'all think about the list. Till next time, signing off, TBFN.